This is an About Search recording. All About Search Jambs recording can be viewed in the About Search domain www.aboutsat.com under the Grow section after login. To learn more on how to participate, kindly message us on Instagram. Recording by David Adigoke. Sweet 16 by Bolaji Abdullahi. The letter. My name is Alia. I'm the only child of my parents. I turned 16 last month, 2 days before my end of term examinations. I had waited so eagerly for that day to come. When I was 14, I read a book titled Sweet 16, which made me realize that at 16, one is no longer a child, but a young adult. For as long as I can remember, I had always hated to be called a child. To me, a child means the same as stupid. So, children's stuff never interested me. Instead, I found myself drawn to grown-up things. I felt more comfortable relating with people who are many years older than me. My father thought this was because of my size. I'm what you might describe as plus size. If you like, you could say I was plump or chubby. But never say fat. I started wearing bras at 10, and at 14, I was already a size 16. My father would say, Alia, don't be deceived by your size. You are still a child, and you should enjoy being a child. To this, I would counter that I was not a child, but an adult trapped in the body of a child. He would shake his head and give my mother a long stare, which I never understood. Young adults, therefore, sounded like a fair compromise between being a child, as my father would insist, and being an adult, as I would insist. My mother was a nurse, my father was many things. And the time I was born, he was a journalist. When I was in primary school, he was working in a public relations agency. He then went to work for an international organization that helps poor people in Africa. When I asked him what exactly his job in the organization was, he said it was still some kind of public relations. The very day I turned 16, I was still in school. Even if I was home, I knew better to expect any parties. My father believed that only thing worth celebrating was a major achievement. In his eyes, a birthday was not an achievement at all. My mother said she agreed with him. I suspected she was just going along with her husband. For this, I have a very strong evidence in the form of several photographs I have seen of her, standing all decked up behind birthday cakes. But to be fair, that was before she met and married Mr. Bello. Whatever the case, birthdays were not regular events in my home. My father even hardly remembered birthdays, including his own. Mommy, however, would never ever forget. She even remembered the birthdays of children in the extended family, but there would be no parties. The closest to any form of celebration were the slightly more elaborate dinner and the much more elaborate prayers. This is not to suggest that my parents were some sort of boring people. Not at all. My father was actually very funny. Mommy would often joke that he should consider another career in stand-up comedy. We also hosted parties and attended some, mostly weddings. Birthday parties were just not our thing. But something changed since I left home for the boarding school. My father, who never remembered birthdays, would not fail to send me greetings card on my birthdays. I turned 12 when I was in GSS1. The birthday card was handed over to me by the principal himself after the morning assembly. Happy birthday, my first lady. Remember that only God is greater than you. My father had scrawled boldly across the blank space inside the card. Even though I didn't understand what he meant by only God is greater than you, it made me feel very important, as if I was some kind of God's deputy. Sometimes I wondered why he called me First Lady, since I was an only child. I didn't think you could have a first unless there was a second. Maybe he was hoping for a second. How much I wished I had a sister though, and maybe a brother too. But my friends told me that brothers could be very annoying. Well, that was not so difficult to believe. I imagined having a brother like Akin in my class, who called himself the king of boys. Even though he was very smart, Akin was the most unserious human being in the whole world. He specialized in making fun of everything and playing pranks on everyone. I remembered what happened last time in the geometry class. The mathematics teacher wrote the topic majoration on the board, but Akin read it aloud as menstruation. Who does that? The whole class erupted in laughter. It was only the teacher, Mrs. Salako, who didn't find it funny. Quiet, all of you, she screamed. I wonder what was so funny. And you, she said, pointing to attacking the culprit. Must you always be a jerk? She asked maniacally. But Akin stood up and answered calmly, "No, ma." And the class exploded in another round of laughter. This got Miss Salako even angrier, and she sent Akin to the wall. Still, Akin got an A in mathematics at the end of the term. It was a Tuesday, the day I turned 16. I woke up expecting to feel different, to feel 16, but I didn't feel anything. In fact, I had slept off the previous night, not thinking of my long-awaited birthday, but about the examinations that would start later in the week. Well, maybe one was not meant to feel anything. Or maybe it was the thoughts of the coming examination that was affecting everything. I had always been a straight A student until I entered the senior class and started chemistry. I still scored A in all my other subjects, including mathematics and physics, which most of my classmates struggled with, but I never scored higher than a C in chemistry. As it happened, it was my father. It was my father's. It was my first paper in this examination. There were 2 blocks of 8 rooms in my hostel, and there were 4 of us each in each room. We had 10 bathroom cubicles, 5 for each block, so we took turns to have our bed. But this was not a problem. Usually, you only had to wait for one person to finish up. I took a quick glance at my bedside clock. I still had more than an hour before the assembly. Of my 3 roommates, one was about my age, even though she was slightly older. Her name was Grace. The other 2 were junior students. They had all wished me happy birthday that morning. As I made my bed, Grace returned from the bathroom. She had a towel wrapped around her chest and another one on her head like a turban. I turned to her and asked, "Grace, did you feel anything? I mean, when you turned 16, did you feel different in any way?" "No, it was like 14 or 15. Couldn't feel any difference, to be honest," she answered with a shrug. Grace was not a great talker. It was as if someone was going to charge her for the number of words she used each time she spoke. Many people thought she was snobbish, but I knew she was a nice and gorgeous person. I wouldn't say she was my bestie, but we got along well enough, even though we were not in the same class. But I started to say, but changed my mind. Never mind, I added. I knew Grace liked to be left alone. In any case, I thought I should rather focus on my chemistry. I had worked harder this time, and this was reflected in my continuous assessment results. Still, I was more than a little worried. The main problem was that time was never enough for me to answer the questions and do all the practical tests. I had tried to improve on my speed by taking 5 minutes off the time allotted to each question. On one occasion, I managed to finish about 17 minutes ahead of time, but I still wonder how I would hold out in real examination conditions. As we sang the national anthem the morning at the assembly, I was already looking forward to the birthday card from my father. But when I walked up to the principal later, he only asked me to see him in his office at break time. Oh, hope there is no problem, sir, I stammered. Not at all, the principal answered curtly. Before I could say anything more, he was already talking to one of the teachers. Sorry. He appeared upset by something. I noticed he didn't say a happy birthday to me. That also never happened before. Usually, as he handed me the card from my dad, he would say happy birthday to daddy's angel and my superstar. And we would both laugh. I wonder what could have happened this time. Maybe he was distracted by whatever had upset him that morning. As I walked towards the classroom, I glanced back at him and I could see he was gesticulating wildly. The teacher looked truly chastened. My mind reached through all kinds of possibilities. Or did something happen to my dad? He traveled a lot. Had he been involved in an accident? Now I got really scared. I remember a couple of my classmates who suddenly lost their fathers and how they struggled and how they had struggled to remain in the school afterwards. I even got my dad to help some of them. But my worry at that moment was not about how to remain in the school if anything happened to him. I love my parents, no doubt about that. But I was particularly close to my dad. I could even say he was the only true friend I had. Even though he could be very strict on some things, he always made me feel I could discuss anything with him, and in most cases I did. I recalled what happened earlier in February on Valentine's Day. A boy in my class gave me a teddy bear and told me he liked me. Everybody called him Bobo, but his real name was Tokumbo. I was walking back to the hostel from the school shop where I had gone to buy some toiletries. I looked up and saw him coming towards me on the narrow concrete walkway. I held my shopping tighter. I had a pack of sanitary pads among and newly bought items in my bag. I wouldn't want him to see that. He was always clutching a small blue gifting bag. Hi Bobo, what's up? Happy Valentine's Day, I greeted him. Happy Valentine's Day, Halia. He fidgeted a bit, looking rather nervous. Are you okay? I see you have a Valentine's gift already. Did someone give that to you? Or are you giving someone? Actually, it's actually for you, he stammered. Me? Oh, thank you. I took the bag from him. You know, I have always wanted to tell you that I like you, he said. You like me? Wow. I don't know what to say. It was my turn to be nervous. This had never happened to me before. No guy had ever said he liked me. I didn't even know how I was supposed to respond. Anyway, thank you, I managed to say, and continued towards the hostel. Not once did I even look back, but I could feel that he was still standing there, watching me. I felt so cautious, I even stumbled on something and wondered if he saw that. When I got to the hostel, I opened the bag and found a red teddy bear. I love you was written on a heart-shaped embossment on its tummy. I liked the teddy bear, but I was not sure I did the right thing by accepting the gift from Bobo. The following week, my dad came visiting. I took the teddy bear with me to show him. A cool thing, a cool thing you've got there, he said as I hugged him. Daddy, story, I said in a sing-song as we sat on one of the concrete branches that we arranged around a black and white checkerboard on the floor. It was not really a board, but a raised cement platform on which giant black and white chess pieces mounted guards on opposite ends as if waiting for their marching orders. This was where students, mostly boys, gathered to play chess during the weekends. I told Daddy how I got the teddy bear. This boy, what is his name? He asked, smiling. Bobo, I answered. Bobo, is that his real name? No, his real name is Tokumbo. Tokumbo Alavi. Okay. Where do you think Tokumbo got the money to buy this gift for you? Did his parents give him a special allowance to buy Valentine's gift for girls? I said no, I didn't think so. So could it be that Tokumbo took part of his pocket money to buy the teddy bear? Yes, most probably, I answered. Daddy got up slowly and walked towards the chessboard. He picked up one of the pawns and moved it 2 steps forward. Then he turned to me. You see, Alia, there's nothing wrong in giving or receiving gifts, but usually, especially in this kind of situation, when someone feels he has done you a favor, he will normally feel you owe him something sometimes. He could even, maybe, expect you to return the favor. He walked to the other end of the chessboard and moved the knight. As he retraced his step, he asked, So this boy, what do you think he wants from you? I said I don't know. He said he likes me. Maybe he wants me to like him back. So do you like him back? He moved another pawn. No, I answered, drawing out the O and shaking my head. The truth is, I like Bobo also. He was very funny, so I liked talking to him. But that was all. I never thought of him as more than a friendly classmate. He was not as smart as Akin, but certainly not as rascally too. In that department, Akin was the clear gold medalist. Dad smiled broadly as if he knew more than he was actually saying. Then he came back to sit beside me. You see, Alia, maybe you don't know yet what the question really means. But that is not even important now. What is important is that you should never put yourself in a situation where you will feel obliged to do anything because you feel indebted to someone. Anybody who gives you something because he wants something from you in return is not good for you. No money in the world, no gift in the world is enough to buy you because you are priceless. In any case, the two of you are still too young to understand what that kind of relationship entails. But I will want you to remember earlier that no relationship between two people can survive if it is based on material benefits. Do not give things to people with the expectation that they will like you because of that. In the same token, when people give you things, it does not necessarily mean they love you. He got up again and walked up to the other end to counter the move he made earlier as his own opponent. He had tried to teach me to play chess. He said it will make me think strategically. He said the black and white pieces represent two armies ranged in battle, the mission being to capture the opponent's king. Well, I was not so interested in fighting any battles, and certainly not interested in capturing any kings. But before he gave up on me, I had already know the names of the pieces and how each of them moved. I suspected he would always chose his part of the school to meet with me so that he could play against himself as he was doing now. A group of students walked past us towards the hostel and said good afternoon to him. In my school, it was compulsory for every student to greet any adult they came across. He returned their greetings and picked up another piece, a castle, from the board. Do you know the kind of girls that most boys like? No, I answered. Dumb girls. Boys like dumb girls. Really? But I am not dumb. I was frowning. Of course. But this boy, what is his name? Bobo. Does he know that you're not dumb? He should. We are in the same class, and I always beat him in exams. Ali, it's not all about exams. You can score A in all your subjects and still be dumb. Daddy, I don't understand. A dumb girl, the kind of girl that boys like, is not necessarily the one who cannot pass exams. A dumb girl is the one who thinks she needs to live up to other people's expectations. A girl who feels the need to belong. A girl who thinks she needs to have sex with a boy to prove that she loves him. Or who thinks that having sex and generally misbehaving is the way to show that she is grown up. A girl who is not smart enough to know when she is being manipulated or exploited, that is a dumb girl. Okay, well, that sounds really dumb to me, I said. He returned the castle to its position and picked up a queen instead. By then, the pawns on the white side had marshaled out into some kind of triangular formation. Daddy, do you think I should return the teddy? He kept quiet for a while. Then he shrugged and said, well, that is a decision you would have to make yourself. He looked at his wristwatch. By the way, do you still have your inhalers? I knew this was his way of saying the conversation was over and he would like to be on his way. I still had my inhalers and he knew. I had been asthmatic since childhood and the Ventolin inhaler had been a constant presence in my life. Soon after, I took the teddy with me to the class with the intention to return it to Bobo. As I entered the class, he saw me first and walked up to me. I can see you like your teddy, he said, looking very pleased with himself. Bobo, actually, yes, I like it, I stuttered. Seeing how happy he was, I could not bring myself to hurt him. He was probably just being nice. If only my father had told me what to do. I am glad to hear that, he said, straight grinning from ear to ear. But Bobo, can I ask you something? I regained my composure. Yes, of course. Do you want something from me? I mean, like, you gave me Teddy, and I know it must have cost you some of your pocket money. Why did you do that? Nothing. It was Valentine's Day. So some of my roommates were talking about gifts for their girlfriends, and I don't have a girlfriend. I could only think of you, so. But I'm not your girlfriend. Yes, I know. Someone sighted the duty master coming towards our class, and everybody scurried back to their seats. After that day, something happened that involved another girl in my class. So Bobo and I never had the opportunity to finish our conversation. True, my intention that evening was to give him back the teddy, but when I realized I couldn't do that without hurting him, I was going to make it clear that if he expected anything more than a thank you from me, he was in for a disappointment. But somehow, I never got the opportunity. When we resumed school the following term, I learned that Bobo had relocated to Ireland with his parents. I was surprised by how unhappy I felt when I heard the news from other classmates. I was not even sure if I was unhappy or angry or both. He should at least have told me he was relocating. Daddy was right after all when he said you should not believe that someone loved you only because they gave you gifts. That was the kind of relationship I had with my dad. How I had eagerly looked forward to turning 16 when he, of all people, would no longer consider me a child and formally recognize me as an adult, as a young adult. But here I was, with not even the usual birthday card from my father, and the principal acting all strange. The idea that something might have happened to my dad truly scared me. Suddenly, I was no longer so sure that I was ready to be the grown-up girl I had always wanted to be. Without my dad, I would be lost like a sheep without a shepherd. The moment the teachers signaled the end of the first period, I ran out of the class. I could hear BC calling after me that I had dropped a pen. "Keep it for me," I shouted back and continued to run. Afterward, she said she thought I was rushing to catch flight or something. In actual fact, I only managed to sit through the class. I could not even record word of what was taught that morning, even though on a good day, the geography class could be terribly boring. I ran all the way to the principal's office and I was still panting when I got there. To my pleasant surprise, the principal's face dissolved in a big smile. The moment he saw me, he asked why I was panting. "Did you run all the way here?" I said yes. "Well, happy birthday," he said. "I guess your boyfriend has a special present for you this year," he said as he brought out a gift box with a pinkish wrap and a bright red ribbon that had a full multicolored bow on top of it. When he said my boyfriend, I knew he meant my dad. The two of them had forged some kind of friendship that I could not understand, especially as they had little in common. Or so I thought. My dad was much younger than the principal, even though I didn't know the principal's exact age. The principal was Christian, my dad was a Muslim. My dad was Yoruba and principal was Steve. "Oh my God," I exclaimed as I collected the box. But it was not the gift that excited me so much, but the utter relief in realizing that all my fears were unfounded after all. "Why don't you wait until you see what is in the box before you get all excited?" the principal said. "No, not that, sir. I was scared before I got here." "Scared of what?" "It was just unusual, sir. Me having to come to your office to pick up the card, so I was kind of afraid that something terrible might have happened." "To whom? Your father?" "No, nothing happened. I still saw him yesterday," the principal shrugged. "Thank you, sir. Thank God." "You are welcome, and happy birthday," he shouted after me as I practically hopped out of his office. The relief that the relief that I felt at knowing that my father was okay was quickly overtaken by curiosity. I couldn't wait to see that. I couldn't wait to see what was in the beautiful box. I ran back to the hostel and tore the purse open. I almost felt bad with the way I ripped off the ribbon. Someone must have taken the trouble to tie it so beautifully, I thought. Oh well, gifts are meant to be opened no matter how beautiful the wrapping, right? In the box was a portable digital camera, a birthday card, and a birthday card that said "Happy Sweet 16" and a spiral-bound document, but it was the camera that got me. Oh my God. Oh my God, I muttered breathlessly. I succeeded with the camera. I loved photographs and had always wanted to own a camera. My dad had promised some months before that he would buy me one. I thought he had forgotten, but I also knew that it would be a mistake to remind him. He did not like being hassled like that. Now I had my camera. He didn't forget his promise after all. I did not even bother to take a second look at the car. It used to be the main thing on previous birthdays, but this year it had been relegated to a mere add-on. The camera had all my attention. It was a compact digital camera with the LCD monitor. I loved it. I was tempted to try it immediately, but I decided it was better to wait until I had the time to read the manual. But what about the spiral bound document? I wondered. I wonder what it was. It had a blue cover that bore the bold inscription, "Letter to my daughter." I once read a book with that same title, written by Maya Angelou. I was not sure I understood everything that the author was saying, but I wondered why my father would now make a photocopy to send to me when he could have sent the book itself if he thought I needed to read again. I soon found, when I opened the document, that my father had only copied Maya Angelou's title. It was his own letter to me, his daughter. He started by congratulating me on my 60th birthday. "How time flies," he began. He wrote of the joy he felt when I was born. He also recalled how many births meant he had to take life more seriously and live up to the task of being responsible for another human being. "For every day of the last 16 years, you have been a major reason for me to work hard so that I will be able to give you those things I never had as a child, and make it possible for you to have those things I never enjoyed. I have also tried to teach you those core values and the essential character that I have inherited from my humble parents, my parents. My parents, who had neither gold nor silver to give me, but taught me to be a real human being, and Omoluabi," he wrote. It was a 16-page letter, a page for each year of my life. Trust my daddy to do a thing like that.